it's really, really a good one. However, to just close this particular question and then move to something else, I would like you to just state this is a yes or no question. Does this type of opportunity still exist in the US presently, based on the whole political and changes that have occurred recently? Do you think there are still schools that would provide such type of funding for physiotherapy students or other medical students in the US presently?
Of course,
Okay.
there is still funding because some faculty still have grants from institutions that are still protected under the present administration. I
Okay.
know they cut in a lot of funding,
Mm-hmm.
but there's still certain research that are not that are still ongoing.
Ongoing.
Uh, so, in addition to that, some universities have internal funding,
Mm-hmm.
so they don't have to rely on
To get
government
funding.
funding to propel their research activities. So definitely, there's still. In fact, I have a couple of people that are coming to the US in the fall. That'll be by August. So and they got
Hmm.
funding, internal funding from.
Good news, good
So
news.
yeah. So
So on the long run, follow who no road though, because
exactly.
yeah. Okay, that is a good one, Ayeni. Let's go to the next question. Now, I want to know what is the biggest cultural shock you got in moving from Nigeria to US. I know you've explained about the weather. You can shed more light, right? But what are the culture shock you got when you're moving to the US?
Okay. I would describe the United States based on my knowledge at the moment as an individualized society. What I mean by that is there isn't much intermingling and communal interactions like we have in Nigeria or in Africa. It's more um, individual based. Of course, you get to interact with people, but don't expect your neighbors to be that kind of neighbors you would expect, where you can talk and gist and everything. Everybody's just going in and going out. Everybody's minding their business, things like that. And even um, in higher institutions here in the US, there isn't that you could teach. I have students I teach, and sometimes when I see them outside, they yeah, I think they don't even know me, And it's not as if they have anything against me. No. Now that's a caveat to it. They don't have anything against me. That's just the way they are.
Mhm.
Only a few of them would greet you, would try and interact with you, not because of anything, but just have that character. They just want to do that. Others,
Okay.
even though they're not interacting or they're not greeting you, doesn't mean they hate you. Or people say
Yeah.
because I'm a black person, that's racism. No, it's not racism. Because if you sit down
Yeah.
and observe the way they run things here, you discover that that's the way they behave.
Mhm.
That's the way which is not entirely a good way of living, but that's just the way
Yeah.
they behave.
Yes,
So
humans. Yeah.
that's so you don't expect people to be greeting you and talking to you and and doing all these things like you can meddle with people's affairs. Um, I know. However, you can form good relationships with people in your
Yeah.
group, in your
Mhm.
department, in your social groups, in probably church or place of worship. You can form good relations. I have good relationships with the people in my department, the faculty, the staff, my colleagues. We interact very well
Yeah.
because it's super important that you open up yourself to people, and the kind of approach you demonstrate to others will determine how they also open up to you. If you're that person that is just quiet and everything, people would not want to associate with you. But if you're always interacting with people or you show that eagerness, they would also open up. We are humans, we are social beings. We want to
Beings, yeah.
interact. We don't just know how to, So yeah. Furthermore, I would say the dressing part as well got to me.
Okay.
Um, don't expect people to be fully covered or to dress decently or modestly like we do. Expect some revealing clothes being worn by people. You just
Yeah.
have to learn how to deal with that, how to work with that without getting angry or aggressive towards people. Like, why are you putting on this?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
have to learn to take that um, how much cultural um, degradation they've experienced, that
Yeah.
they don't see anything bad about it. Yeah, so we
Yeah.
just have to learn to live
Yeah.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the culture shock you got is similar here. It's similar because it's also a Western world. People don't care about the next person, not really care in terms of care like that. People mind their business. Me, I call it a lifestyle of sole proprietorship. So you're just minding your business. Every other person is minding their business. You don't know the name of your neighbors. They don't know your name, and you just leave. Everybody is always on the run, going to work, coming back from work, and things are just happening, and everybody is on their own, right? So it's really common over here too. It's a
They
nice.
work so fast here. They work so fast. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
walking, WALK.
Yeah, yeah,
I sometimes challenge them. Why are you walking so fast? Where are you rushing to? Take life
yeah.
easy.
Yeah, yeah. I was challenging. I was thinking that way until I started working. WORK. When I started working in the UK, I discovered that the train are timed, the buses are timed. So if you miss it, you may have to wait for maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, which may not be good for your punctuality and all of that. So people are always rushing to meet up with a particular train, a particular bus, and all of that. So that makes them to always be on a very fast paced, and
Yeah.
it was a culture shock for me as well. Okay. That was a nice one from Ayeni. Oh, yes, it is the deep dive with Physio Carlo. Stay tuned to be continued.